And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of proud of this because my daughter, she's 14, and this happened last year when she was 13. And she came down the stairs and she goes, "Dad, there's this camp I want to go to, and it's really, really cool." And I said, "How much does it cost?" She goes, "Dad, it's only $750. And of course, my reaction was, "What?" Because you can go to a camp for $100 to $200, to different camps, church camps, etc. And she's, "Please, please, please, Dad, can I go?" And I thought about it. I said, here's a good opportunity to teach my daughter about business and about saving and investing. So I said, "Lizzie, here's the deal. I will give you $750, and you can spend it on anything you want except for camp." And the old bottom lip started to pooch out. You know how that goes. And
she was on top of the mountain for a moment. He's giving me the $750, and all of a sudden, oops, I can't use it for what I wanted to.
Exactly. And she goes, "Dad, what good is that going to do me?" I said, "Well, have you ever thought about taking your money and having it create more money for you, which is the essence of wealth?" And, she went off to her room disappointed. But, I figured after about a week that she'd given up. And sure enough, she came downstairs. I was eating breakfast. She goes, "Dad, I've got it." I said, "What do you have?" She goes, "I've got my idea." I said, "Do you know how Grandma has hedgehogs at the ranch that we can play with when we go there?" And you know what a hedgehog is, right? It's a little pet, about the size of a hamster, and they've become kind of popular among young kids. And
I've seen little charms, like women's charm bracelets for the hedgehog.
Yeah.
One of the favorites of young kids.
Yeah, and if you haven't,
take good to the grandmother, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen one, they basically look like a hamster that looks like the size of a hamster looks like a baby porcupine.
Exactly.
They're really cute. But anyway, she says, "What I can do is I can raise hedgehogs, sell the babies, and make enough money to go to camp." So my next question was, "Well, how many mamas do you need to raise these babies?" She goes, "I don't know, maybe a couple." And I said, "Well, how many babies do they have?" She goes, "I'm not sure." I said, "How much do the babies sell for? What does your cage cost? What does your feed cost? How many dads do you need?" And she didn't have the answer to any of these questions. And I said, "You know what? You need to go off and do your homework and then come back and talk to me." Well,
yeah, I know what it was. You said business plan.
Business plan. Exactly,
yeah.
Business plan. So she came back about a week later, and she was grinning ear to ear. She says, "Dad, I've done my homework. I looked on the internet. They have this many babies on the average. Here's what they'll sell for. Here's how they cost for the mamas and the daddies. And, here's what I can do." I said, "Now, how many hedgehogs do you need?" And she goes, "Well, Dad, I was kind of hoping, you would help me that since you're in business." Okay, that was the first thing that she did right. She went and found a mentor, and I was her mentor to help her in business. And a mentor would be someone that's been there and done that, has gone through the investment that you're trying to go through, and learn from them. Now, I had a lady the other day, she was asking me, "Well, how do I find mentors? I don't know any millionaires. I don't know people that do that." And,
it doesn't have to be a millionaire.
No, it doesn't have to be a millionaire.
That might be ideal, but that might not be the perfect match.
It may not be the perfect match. And what she came up with, I said, "Well, do you have any friends that invest or do certain things?" And the funny thing was, she goes, "Well, this lady I know, she doesn't make a lot of money, but she puts a little bit aside what she can, and she invests, and she's done very well in investing." I said, "Well, there's somebody that's proved that they know how to be a mentor or know how to invest." And she goes, "You know what? That's a great idea. They don't have to be a millionaire." So anyway, to get back to the story, we got a piece of paper and we got a calculator, and I sat down there with my daughter. I said, "Okay, you need $750 by this time." She goes, "That's correct." I said, "Okay, how many babies do you need to sell at this cost to have $750? So we came up with a number of babies. Okay, then we backed in how much time we have. How many babies do the mamas have? And then we got back to the beginning, and basically I taught my daughter how to run a business. We created a business plan. We need to buy this many animals. We need to have this many babies, and then we need to sell the babies. And she was actually able to do profit planning, which you can determine how much money you want to make before you even buy your first hedgehog or start your business. And then, as we went along, and this goes back to implementation and quantification. Her first idea was the innovation. So we bought some mama hedgehogs and we started the program, and that was the implementation. Now she kept a budget. She saw how much feed she was feeding them. She saw how many babies she was having, and then she determined as she went along if she was on track. The neat thing about that is she had a mama that didn't have babies, so she experienced failure. But that's not a bad thing, because by looking at her failure, she learned, okay, I need to maybe have an extra mother, or maybe I need to find a mother that's younger. And then once she failed at that and failed at a couple of things, she actually became more successful than when she started through her experience. So business plan.
Yeah, well, certainly it's a great story too, basically, Rocky, because you said a year ago when this occurred, she was 13, now she's 14. Kind of leads me into another subject you and I talked about. I don't know how much you talk about it, perhaps in your book, but we did talk about it prior to the show, and that is financial education, education in the money field, if you will, basically to high school students. And of course, your daughter isn't too far from
No,
that
that's
age.
exactly right, and I will, I'll touch a lot on that in the last chapter, which really is called the One True Wealth. But kids need to learn how to face the real world, and right now it is up to us as parents or adults to teach our children. They need to know what a credit card is, how you use a credit card, what is a credit rating. I mean, all these things are very important. You need to learn how to budget. And I'll be honest with you, when I came out of college, my dad never taught me how to budget. In my first 2 or 3 years...
How many parents ever did?
How many parents ever do? And I'll be honest with you, the first 3 or 4 years out of college, I never had money. I could barely keep my bills, and it was horrible.
Well, I think I mentioned to you earlier again when we talked, Rocky, about one of the local banks here, at least a couple of years ago, having a program that they took around to various high schools and teaching the high school students. But when you stop to think about it, what a loss, if you will, to a great extent to a lot of these high school students, because think of this, as it comes to mind to me, 99% perhaps of the high school students are living at home, parents, that sort of thing. When they go off to college, for example, you're from Texas, but your daughter may go to college in California, for example.
No, that's exactly right.
And they don't have that knowledge of finances and credit cards and things of that nature. All of a sudden, they're on a college campus, they're handing out, they got people soliciting for credit cards, parents open up a checking account for them, here's $1,000 or whatever to get started, whatever the case may be, and they have no idea how to use it properly.
Exactly. And that goes back to this little saying that my brother always says to his kids when they go, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day. And I know that in my life, man, if I could go back to 18 or 19 or 20 years old and know what I know now, I'd be living in the Florida Keys with my new friends, if you know what I'm saying. I'd have plenty of money. And I think if you don't teach your kids, you're cheating them, because, instead of them struggling for 10 years, why don't you teach your kids how to start this, and then they pick up an extra 10 years, and they can start their money creating wealth for them, and they can get a big jump on those around them.
I'm John Troll, this is Business Beat Live Special Edition. We'll be right back after this short break. We'll continue our spirited discussion with Rocky Castleberry.